I would now like to invite Mr. Amjad Awan, Chair of the session, to wrap up the session. Mr. Amjad Awan is CEO of Alternative Energy Development Board. He is giving a presentation on role of renewable energy towards energy security of Pakistan.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Privilege is entirely mine for being invited over here, and I would like to congratulate the organizers, Mr. Abdullah Dada Boy, Lieutenant General Umar Farooq, for organizing this great event, and I think it's very timely as well. And I believe that this will bring more reflections in terms of enlightenment and tangibility towards the policy making processes in Pakistan. Much of the topic has been covered by the Sarim and Naeem Saab, but I would like to cover some areas. In my childhood time, I used to read the books of Dale Carnegie, and I do remember a very popular phrase that no worries if you face problems from other side, from your corners, from the people, nobody kicks the dead dog. That means if you face difficulties, if you face challenges, and these are unleashed by some people, by the corners around you, that means there is something in you that ignites fear and apprehension and threat in the mind of others who unleash these difficulties towards you. And I believe that that very sentence, nobody kicks the dead dog, suffixes very much with the Pakistan's existing situation amidst of a lot of difficulties. Security difficulties, development difficulties, energy issues. But I would not much embroil in terms of the security and other issues, and will focus mainly upon the energy security things. Accounting to energy security risk and the problem, partly we are responsible for that. In terms of our own fragilities, our deficiencies in the performance, right now, let me tell you, after 70 years of our independence, we don't have any energy security policy in the country. And partly the response, and I think the trends and the threats which are unleashed to us from the cross-border side, the inimical issues, the mindsets, the attitudes which are actually hitting our energy, water and food security. And there are determined efforts being done from the cross-border side to encircle Pakistan, to throw Pakistan into ditch of energy crisis, energy security challenges, water security challenges and food security challenges. Why? Because Pakistan, in any ways we have problems, but by virtue of the potential that we have, we ignite the fear and threat of some of the people, corners in the countries, and they try to stop us on that very pretext. Energy and water are the main hit that we have been experiencing right now. Why hydropower? It's not easy for Pakistan to seek hydropower financing. Go to World Bank, they are refusing. Why? 50% of 50,000 megawatt of potential rests with the northern areas, and they have encircled that as a controversial area. So how can they finance the hydro projects in Pakistan? Before talking something about energy security, we must understand the right definition. What does energy security really means? And there are different definitions across, but I would like to give you a simplest definition for a country perspective, what energy security really means. It's all about attainment and achievement of a safe status by a country in which your existing and future energy demands meet without putting pressure on your growing economy in a foreseeable time frame. Time frame, that means you must have targets to achieve. 20 years target, 30 years target, that is not here. Secondly, throughout the history of Pakistan, at one time, I believe in mid-80s, we achieved energy security where 64% of energy was coming from our own hydropower sector. and that was the time. But ahead, since 90s, the balance between thermal and hydro started shifting in favor of the thermal, and we started experiencing problems. Secondly, the energy demand, not only in the present but in future, should meet in such a way without putting pressure on your economy. Right now, energy is the critical area which is putting pressure in all the macroeconomic parameters in this country. Maybe the GNP, maybe the fluctuation rates, maybe the fiscal policy, everything, even your industry is being affected by the energy issues right now. Energy, because of the energy security problems, your economy is at the hostage of these problems. So, what to do? The definition I mentioned about energy security indicates that it's all about developing your indigenous energy economy and reducing burden from the imports. Now I would like to give you 3 scenarios by which you can understand what's the gravity of situation. The share of imports last fiscal year 23.7, overall imports $60 billion, and if you take into account $14.42 billion constitute our imports, energy imports. Out of that, the oil bill around 12.9 billion US dollars last year. And in previous year, it was just 10 point something. So it's on the ascending side. It's on the increasing side. And it's mainly due only maybe some fluctuation, rupee dollar fluctuation rate also affected. 22% of, I think, the exchange rate went in disfavor of Pakistan since last 7 to 8 months. And whenever you choose imported fuel, 3 types of risk you will face. Number 1, you don't have control on international fluctuations of the prices, oil price. So whenever there will be higher peak, it will affect your economy because fuel is a pass-through in our economy, energy. Secondly, rupee dollar exchange rate, it will definitely affect your choice of imported fuel. And 3, your increasing demand and increased reliance on these resources. And these are the figures I am telling you from the Pakistan Bureau of Statistics. And second scenario, what Asian Development Bank says, based upon the existing situation in Pakistan, that our imports are going to increase, maybe doubled by 2025. That means, and it's mainly because of the gas situation, and our gas resources, the generation of the gas, which is around, I think, 3.7 billion cubic feet per day, is going to reduce to 1.8 billion cubic feet per day by 2025. That means 1.9 billion cubic feet is a deficiency. And during this period, your demand for the gas is going to increase around 1.5 billion cubic feet per day. So if you combine this, it's around 3.7 billion shortfall that we are going to experience next, up beyond 2025. And what about the oil situation in Pakistan? We have 1197 billion barrels of oil. Out of that, 72% we already consumed, and we have left with the strategic resources of 28%. And the way we are consuming energy or oil, by next 11 years, these resources are going to be depleted. So we are caught in the middle. On the one hand, we have fastly depleting our own strategic resources, oil and gas, and secondly, we are in the trap of the higher imports. What to do in future? Where to shift this demand? If your answer is LNG, let me tell you that a single unit of power that is being generated right now, the tariff is 11 cents per kilowatt on LNG. Whereas your local gas, it's half. It's around 4 point something cents per kilowatt hour. So in 2025, 70% of power is depending on the thermal resources. 40% IPPs, 23% your dependence on the GenCo's power, thermal. So all this 70% dependence on on thermal resources, we are going to shift to imports. So we are heading towards a big crash. And the way we are consuming energy, oil and gas, and secondly, we are a total unsustainability wherever 70% of thermal power's demand will be shifted to the imports. And those imports will be highly volatile, unsustainable, costly, or whatever you see. What's the remedy? Single point. Phase out the imports in favor of the indigenous resources. Now look back to your past when 64% of energy was coming from hydro. Now we have other resources as well. We have wind, we have solar, so we have to expedite the process to phase out our dependence, our chronic dependence on the imports, to replace with the renewable energy resources. Now about renewable energy resources. Let me tell you some good news in this respect. Pakistan is abundant in terms of renewable resources, wind and solar, and recently we actually proved, we laid the foundation. Right now, more than 1800 megawatt is the installed capacity of renewable energy power, excluding hydro in Pakistan. In wind solely, we surpassed 1000 megawatt. We are now at 1184 megawatt of power that is connected to national grid. In the meantime, we completed the resource mapping. We discovered new wind corridors in Pakistan, and these are thousands of megawatt you can deploy, and you can create zones across Pakistan, particularly Balochistan. In Balochistan, we have abundant wind resources, and those very areas are gifted equally with the solar potential as well. We have Jhampir and Gharo corridor, 6,700 square kilometers, one of the broadest wind corridors in Pakistan. So this is the silver lining, and maybe many of you may be thinking that wind and solar are the expensive options. So let me tell you, we started from the expensive tariff. Right now, the wind and solar are the cheapest tariff in the country. Wind is below 5 cents, the recent tariff announced by the NEPRA to some projects, and solar is 5 cents, cheapest among all the resources that you have. So now, what we need to do? My suggestion, create zones of renewable energy in Balochistan, Sindh, KP, Punjab, and then design a suitable energy mix, consistent energy mix, where I believe 60% we can plan. The resources should come from our own indigenous resources. For example, 28% share of hydro, it can be enhanced to 30%, and 30% we can set target for renewables in this country. That's very much achievable. If there are policy gaps, we can fill it. If there are management issues, we can manage it. What we need to do right now, finally, time is ticking fast, so 4 key things we need to do right now. Every country does. Set some reasonable targets for renewable energy in this country in terms of percentage share in the overall energy mix. Learn the system integration, how to integrate renewables, variable integration resources with your conventional resources. And please make a policy that must have a solid dimension of energy security in this country. And whatever you are offering for the investors, your policy must be robust, irreversible, dependable, that nobody should criticize, and investors must keep coming in this country. So this is the silver lining. This is the comprehensive strategy that we have to develop, and we in Pakistan have every competence to plan or formulate such policy and execute. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. And now it's time for souvenir. I would like to request Rear Admiral Parvez Asghar Sahab to please come on stage so we can present the souvenirs. Please welcome him. I would like to request Mr. Amjad Awan to please receive his souvenir.
Oh, and this.